Yeah.
I love that. That's an example of a sales thing that you're doing as a CE.
Well, as an SE, you're part of sales.
Yeah.
So here's the misconception. You're not, as an SE, you're not selling. You're selling all the time. You're just selling it differently, right? You're not asking for money, but you have, like, in the end, if you're there with and you're against a competitor, right? Why would they pick yours over theirs? If you're just there to answer their questions, you didn't differentiate yourself from anybody, right? We're all the same, and now it comes down to, like I was mentioning earlier, it comes down to money. Whoever's cheapest, it's a Honda or a Toyota, right?
I love that.
Depends on preference and cheapness, right? But if you're there and you're asking the right questions, you're helping them build a vision of what their solution could look like. If you're doing tell, show, ask, if you're like, there's a million things that you can do as an SE to sell the product that would make the salesperson's job easier when they're doing the proposal and the negotiation. When you say it's $100,000 and here's why,
Yes.
the SE already justified all that for you.
Hey, it's like, no, you're definitely right. It's $100,000. Well, it also drives like like what if it drove like $1 million in top line revenue, or reduced your total cost of ownership over 3 years by like $500,000? You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like, and that you need like I'm in the cloud world, and we're scoping out like migrations and things from on-premise to cloud, or even cloud to cloud, or we're implementing different technology. And my solution architect or customer engineer, SE, they're doing that legwork, right? And it's actually really nuanced. I wouldn't want to do it, by the way. Like looking at all these services on AWS, for example, and having them map out not just the bill, but how do they interact on the back end from a networking security perspective? How do they communicate? So it's that legwork that you guys do is very important.
So I do the legwork, but then I put a lot of the legwork on the customer. I mentioned tell, show, ask earlier. Are you
Yeah.
familiar with tell, show, tell?
Okay, to walk us through it, and by the way, quick thing, we got a question about avoiding burnout, and I actually do have an answer for it. And then I want
Me
to,
as well.
and we got a little bit of time left, 47 minutes, we're going an hour. I want to understand the skills of an SE, which it sounds like this is part of it, but also like, how do you get the SE role? Like what's the
Okay.
interview experience? So we can kind of pick out, what do you prefer? Do we want to maybe we start with the skills itself? I'll hit the answer on play and then finish up with like how you get the job. We could go either direction.
But it doesn't matter. Let's answer.
Let's talk about the skills, like
Okay.
because I'm assuming this is one of the skills of.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the one of the processes we use while doing a demo, right?
Yeah.
If there's a book called the Demonstrating to Win by a gentleman by the name of Rob Reifstall. He talks about tell, show, tell. If you're about to show something to the customer, tell them what you're going to show them, show them the thing, and then tell them what you showed them. So I've taken that and I've modified it a little bit. Where, let's say the customer has problem X, you tell them, like, hey, last time we chatted, you said you had problem X. I'm going to show you how we can help you solve that problem. And then I do the demo and I show them. And at the end of the call, at the end of that part, I say, like, all right, I just showed it to you. How do you feel this is going to work in your system, in your network, in your environment? And then they can start talking about, and all that legwork your SE did to kind of uncover the processes or the value that they're going to get. They're starting to tell it to themselves. I don't have to tell them anything. I don't have to sell them on that. They're selling it to themselves, or they're buying it. They're understanding how I'm going to help them. And then when they're done, I can ask follow-up questions. So tell, show, ask, then show the next thing. Right. And all this is for them to highlight. All right. So, okay, you mentioned that this is going to help you do this in your current environment. Like, it always comes down to three things, right? Time, money, and risk. So, like, how much money is that going to save you? Oh, it's going to save you 600,000. Let me write that down. Okay, that's something my salesperson can now use, right, in the negotiation. All right. So, how much time is going to save you? How much risk is going to save you? And all that, they're selling it to themselves. And if they say, like, oh, it's only this is gonna like save me 50,000. Oh, really? Because I just did all this legwork, and from what I saw, you're spending around $500,000 a month on this thing, right? So that's where the legwork comes in. But you can use it to challenge the information, and that's one of the skills that SEs have. Basically, you have to be a great communicator. You have to be able to ask the right questions. Great storyteller. One of the major skills is not being ruffled under stress, because when you're doing a demo, it's a stressful situation. Things can go bad. You might be asked a question you don't know how to answer, which is another skill: how to defer questions that you don't know how to answer. Leveraging other people. Right, your solution architect, he could leverage other people to do that legwork for him, so he can be out there helping you close more deals. For example, I'm not saying he should or shouldn't. I don't know his situation, but just an example. Knowing where to get answers. Being able to speak. Did I say that? Writing great emails. Right? There's
that's interesting. So you're saying because writing emails is a huge part of sales, and so. Yep. Obviously, though, I have times with the customer engineer, they're writing the email. Sometimes they'll give it to me to wordsmith. They'll give me the foundation of here's the key documentation and follow-ups. But do you find that you've taken in your SE roles ownership of? I'm assuming, yeah. Do you come in and you write those especially follow-up emails?
I think you have better things to do than edit emails as a salesperson, right? So I think as an SE, you have to have the right or the capability to do that. Not only that. So if I met with a customer and did a discovery call with them, the way I formulate the email, let's say I met with a director of security at a company, right? They're not the decision maker. There's a VP of security, CISO, whoever is above them.
Yeah.
I need to write the email in such a way to highlight the problems that I discussed with this director, how it could affect him, his boss or her boss, and their boss, and how can I help him, and how can I help all of them, and all they have to do is hit forward and send, and not have to worry about writing the email again so that they can share it with their boss. Right? And that's something that we need to do as sales engineers, right? It's buyer enablement. Right? They want my product and they want to sell them to their boss, but they don't know how. Good. I did the work for you.
That is really good. And that's sales too. And again, because you are selling, but adding in that you have the technical know-how and chops.
Yeah. We're part of sales.
Exactly. So that is so important to empower your champions internally to sell for you and make it easy for them to share. Just even what we're doing, building our brands with our podcasts and YouTube. It's important to distill things in a simple way so it's easily shareable. I wanted to ask you about storytelling because I am big on that. I mean, fMRI scans of brains show that our brains sync up, with other people when we're telling stories. It's a gateway to influence. And I'm wondering, do you incorporate stories when you're talking about a specific aspect, like a feature of a demo? Oh, this customer actually got this benefit and produced this result with this. How do you incorporate stories into whether it's a demo or just in general?
Yeah, I mean, people they say they love facts, but most people don't remember any, and they remember stories, they remember feelings, they remember how they felt when someone's showing something, not the facts. And the way I tell stories is a lot of imagine. We talked, Chris, we talked last time, and you mentioned your day when you come in. The first thing you do is you look at your email. You're expecting something horrible to have happened overnight. Imagine you didn't have to do that. Imagine you come in and everything's good. Why? Because all this happened during the night, and it didn't have to come to you because all these people were involved first, and they were able to resolve the problem thanks to my product. And now you're here. Sure, there was a problem. Sure, you need to know about it, but there's nothing for you to panic about right now or to feel stressed. That's one aspect of the story.
Yeah.
Or hey, this is something there's more than one kind of story, really. If you're a founder, you can share the story of why you created the product, the problems that you were facing, that you created the product, right? I'm a new SE who decided to join a company. I can share why I decided to join a company because I was running let's say I moved from company A to a vendor, and now I'm trying to sell into company B, which is similar to company A. It's the reason I moved to this company is because it helped me with my problems over there, and now I want to help you solve your problems. There's a million stories, a million ways of doing things. Pick one, right?
Yeah, I love it. And so having a quiver of stories too, in your tool belt, or almost I think of arrows to pull out, and I don't know if that was a good example of shooting an arrow. Clearly, I don't do that. That you pick it out at the right time, right? And you have stories that match certain types of customers, relevant to their vertical.
Yeah.
or a certain pain point, and it takes legwork though. And obviously a seller and a sales engineer, if you can put in that legwork, it is powerful, because once you have the story, you don't really forget it, but it makes an impact.